Static stretching, we also will rotate through our 3 phases. So we'll have a basic static stretch, which is low intensity. Then we go to a partnered static stretch routine in the phase 2, that's a little bit more intense. And then we'll have our P&F, so push, relax, And so that's a way, even within your static stretching and your dynamic stretching, you're moving that forward where athletes never get bored. And their bodies are adapting and they become more mobile, they become more prepared, and they've got a new, unique skill set of different angles and movements that they have that their legs are going through that helps them warm up. So, and as you can see here, we've got different leg swings and different types of things that we do with our athletes as we move through the process. So again, 2 different packages, 3 phases. So you're going to have basically a total of 6 different types of general warm-ups. Okay, so you have to plan 6 for a 3-month season. Okay, so you're going 3 months. So about every month, you're switching up. Then we have our team huddle. We talked about this earlier. You've got your Google surveys and all that kind of stuff. But another thing that we do is we will do some other things where they will fill out some other information for us. So like, how are you feeling about practice? How hard was yesterday's practice? How was your day? And they'll answer like 4 or 5 questions, and you can do it from 9 to 10, most ready, least ready. And you fill that data in, okay? And you do that before practice. So they all get their phone out, they go to the Google link, they answer the questions, and that's it. They put their phones up, and then we go throughout the rest of our practice. Now in the team huddle, as I talked about, I don't go into crazy long-winded speeches, but I do tell them what the expectation is of the workout, okay? And when you're dealing with your sprinters, you will have a separate team huddle with them to talk about their paces, their amount of reps, what they're doing, and the recoveries, and you explain all that stuff to that individual group. Now, just because you explain it once doesn't mean you're not going to have to explain it again. You will, of course, have to explain it again. But the biggest thing you need to do for sprinters is they're like, why are we doing this? Okay? This is stupid. I don't like doing this. You'll hear that from time to time on the days that you ask them to do hard stuff, like Coach was talking about those tempo 200s with short recovery. That can get pretty hard, okay? So you got to explain to them, well, the reason why we're doing this is for this particular part of your race. Now, this is not a time to give them a biology lesson. It's just to explain, this is the purpose of the workout, this is why we're doing it, and here's my expectation of you in this workout. Okay? So that's when we do that, and then we have our quote of the day, which is usually tied into a theme or something that's going on in campus. So if there's an issue, because you as a coach, just like mom and dad, sometimes you become white noise to them when you're talking to them, when they're not really focused, they're not really listening. But if you bring up a quote from Drake or LeBron James or, Teddy Roosevelt, somebody really famous, they might pay attention to that, right? And then that kind of gets them engaged, and then you can kind of come back to that over and over and over again throughout your practice because of whatever we're trying to do. So, after that, and usually I tell a funny joke, or try to tell a funny joke, not always funny, you can see the kids are kind of cracking up at me. When we do our team huddles before meets, I'll dance and do goofy stuff like that to try to loosen up the crowd a little bit, so we do our team huddle before competitions also. But this is a time to just kind of set the tone for the day and all that kind of stuff. Then, and I know you guys are going to hear a talk about that a little bit, think about this later. But then we go to our biomechanics. Just like your warm-up, where you have different phases, and have an A warm-up and a B warm-up, guess what? We do the exact same thing for the drills. So that way, if you're really asking a lot from them, so like if they're doing a B skip and they're clawing back on that hamstring, well, you might not want to do that B skip every day. So on A day, we will do A skip, and then on B day, we will do B skip. And on A day, we might do a single quick leg. On B day, we do a double quick leg. And then as you move forward, your drills will also change, and they will also match your different phases. So we have A set and a B set. Now here's the other thing you'll notice. I don't like to go higher than basically 8 to 9 different drills that are different every day, And the reason why, you don't want to get it to be way too much, but also from memory. So if you have the big sister, little sister going on like we talked about, and you may not be able to coach every one of your groups because you only got one coach for like 50 kids, sometimes that happens, right? You have these packages of workouts that I like to call modules. And so you tell them, hey, we're going to do band to speed general prep, part 1. And then they have a script that they're given in your team huddle about what's going to happen that day. So the leaders in your group, the big sisters in your group, or big brothers, will have that script. So you're like, hey, we're about to do module B, or module A, right, for band to speed today. And then they'll go through and they'll have, anywhere from 7 to 9 different things they got to do in that module. Now, why that? Well, think about it. How many numbers do you have on your cell phone? How many numbers do you have? Well, if you include your area code, how many numbers are there? 10. So guess what your workable memory is for most people? Like a workable memory, to have to recall numbers, recall facts, recall things. It's about 7 to 10. Right? So any one of these modules that you put together shouldn't be any bigger than that. Don't make it any bigger. So then they're like, oh, what do I got to do next? Oh yeah, now it's time to do a B skin. Or now it's time to do our quickly, because that's the next one in the order. I can remember that. And so when you do these little packages, and you can name them fun things that keep the kids interested and entertained. So the first 2 packages that I have up here, that's our basic skill sets. And then what we do from there is we add additional things in to make it tougher or more interesting. So one of the things we'll do, we do different hand positions. Okay? Now why do I do that? Because I want them to just slightly be tweaked so that they still have to concentrate and they still have to focus on just a slight variation of their hips and their trunk and their posture. It forces them to concentrate on being in a different position. And it keeps it interesting, but yet they can still do an A-skip with their hands on their head or their hands up here, but it makes it harder. The reason why it makes it harder is your arms are your training wheels, right, for your body. They help you counter-rotate alternate forces. When you take the arms away, now the hips and the core have to do all of it. And that slight little tweak is just a slight little overload, but it also keeps it interesting for your sprinters. But everybody does this, by the way, in the company. But it keeps it interesting. It helps them maintain their focus. Another thing we'll do, and I'll just use the line here on this, but we have our sprinters not stand in a lane, we have them stand on the line. Why do I have them stand on the line?
They can go forward and not waste momentum.
Right, we're not wasting momentum, we want to go straight forward, and I want them to be narrowly focused. I don't want them to be like, because a lot of football guys, when they do this weird wide thing, act like their legs are twice as big as they are, right? I don't want that. In track and field, we're trying to go straight. So I have them on a line. It makes them focus, it makes them narrow down their gaze, it keeps their attention, and that way they're not going over here, or they're not going over here. Now if they do that, then it's time for you as the coach to go, wait, there might be an overload here, there might be an injury, there might be a problem. Also, when kids are doing their drills and when they're doing their warm-ups, this is not a time for you guys to sit back and talk about the bad kid in your class for that day. You're coaching the warm-up. You're coaching the drills. Now, one of the values, so people poo-poo drills all the time too. Don't be that person. Don't be the person that poo-poos drills. Okay? For high school kids, because a lot of the research they do, even when they do athletic populations, they don't do athletic populations with high school kids. It's adults. Well, when they're adults, their nervous system is hardwired, right? When you become, as a man, when we're 27 years old, that's when our brain finally is fully done developing. When a woman's brain is like 23. That causes some really relationship issues, by the way, when you're in your early 20s, let me tell you. Okay, thank God I tricked my wife into marrying me, and it worked out. But anyway, okay, so that's something you have to be aware of, is that you can still learn. You can still improve, and a lot of that research is flawed because of how they did the research. So what do drills do? They improve flexibility through the motion, okay? They improve specific strength through those actions. And then, yes, they actually improve the running itself. But then the last thing is, it helps you catch injuries. So when a kid is doing a drill and they're doing a high knee, and all of a sudden one ankle is way lower than the other leg, that's an opportunity to grab the kid, pull them out of practice, talk to them about what's going on. And they said, well, you know, I tweaked my ankle in basketball today. Now that doesn't mean you totally pull them out of the warm-up. See if it changes as the warm-up goes along. If the warm-up doesn't change things, the mobility doesn't improve, that kid's got to have a B workout, BCD workout. So you use the drills as a diagnostic tool to figure out if they have readiness for the workout. So that's really important. So now, we put them online, we have different hand positions for different drills. The other thing we do, we go the opposite way around the track with drills too. And we do the drills on a curve, a lot of times. Why do we do drills on a curve? Do you need good mechanics when you're running on a curve? Of course, right? So we do drills on the curve. So they're going one way around the track, and then they go the opposite way around the track doing the drills on the curve. We also mix up surfaces. One of the things I found is that if I'm always on the track, all the time doing my drills, I get a lot of kids responding to feet and shin issues, especially my distance runners, but my sprinters get that too. By moving to the turf, if you have turf or if you have a grass field you can get on. Now we don't do grass and turf all the time because they still need to know how it feels to come off the ground, off the track, right? But we'll move them to grass and to the turf, and what we found is by doing that, we have way less shin splints, way less foot injuries, because now they're not pounding that hard surface all the time. But we slide that in once every 3 days, okay? If we're going to go for a long period of time with good weather, okay? So, drills on a curve, drills on a straight, goofy hand positions, go in the normal way around the track, go in the opposite way around the track. Again, to provide balance, to build up the muscles, to change things up, keep it interesting. And so, like maybe Monday, we'll do A and we'll do it normal. Tuesday, we'll do the B set and we'll do it normal. Wednesday, we might do it on a curve. Thursday, we'll do the opposite set of drills on a curve. And then Friday, we might do goofy hand positions. And so you keep it interesting, and the kids are constantly focused. Because what you don't want kids to become is docile or bored in their training. Because once they become bored or once they become docile, learning is not happening. You understand? Now, another thing that we do is we will also add in miniature sprints after the drills. So in phase 2 is kind of our build-up phase. It's where we add a little bit of volume. We don't necessarily add any more drills in. Some of the drills become technically more difficult as we move through the different phases, but we'll also add in a mini sprint. So now they might do a high knee for 20 meters, and then they'll do a 30-meter build-up out of the high knee drill. Okay, and then we do that every other drill. You don't want to do that every drill, that would be too much. But we usually do that every other drill. And then we'll do the same thing for day 2 for the B part of the workout. Or, instead of adding in a mini sprint, we'll do it on the slight hill. So now you're doing, high knees or butt kicks on a slight hill, going up and going down. Again, change of surface, a change of intensity, but they're not seeing it every day, and you're giving them at least 48 hours to recover. But there's variety in there as you improve. And then when we get to the last phase, I like to combine my drills together. So they'll do an A skip, B skip complex. So they'll go A, B, B, or they'll do a high knee that blends into a butt kick, that blends into an A run. And so that's in our phase 3. So we take these drills and we smash them together to make them more technically difficult. And we'll tell them from here to here, cone to cone, you're going to do these drills, and then from here to here, you're going to do this, so that they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And that keeps things more intense, they're more aware, they're better in shape. Now they can handle the more neurologically difficult drills. Now, when we end any of our sessions, we end with accelerations. We traditionally do a 3-point combine start. So we do it where the hand is lined up with the big toe, okay? And then there's a set, butt comes up, I clap, and they sprint out. And I'll hold them for different things. And why do we do that? Because now we're trying to put everything together, and it's a way for me to get a lot of short sprints in or short accelerations in. And then also it gives me, I can line up on the turf. I can line up 100 kids on the turf, and I can get them all in a spot and say set, and they're all in the 3-point. And the reason why we do that instead of blocks is how long does it take to get in and out of blocks? Ridiculous, right? You don't have time for that. Not for a warm-up especially. But all of our kids accelerate. Our jumpers, our throwers, our distance runners, and our sprinters, they all do this, okay? Because you never know when one might actually end up being on a relay or on a different event. And then I will hold them in that combine football position for different time intervals. And I'll change my voice up. So I'll be like, set, and then I'll hold, and I'll clap, and then you'll see kids jump off. And if they jump off, and we have them all do push-ups. Every kid does push-ups. And so by doing that, I'm forcing them to learn how to accelerate, but I'm also forcing them to listen for the clap. I'm also changing up the voice, and I'm making them more disciplined to the commands so that we don't have a lot of jumping off and having false starts. And thankfully, knock on wood, we haven't had a false start in a major competition in a long time. And no pulls. So we've had no muscle pulls and no false starts. So that's stuff that takes you away from getting to do the fun stuff, which is racing fast. So we do that at the end because we want to put it all together and we want to control it. Okay?